Hello friends, welcome to your own channel 19 Learning Curve. In this video, we are going to cover Introduction to RPA with respect to UiPath. Also, we are going to cover UiPath components, which are Studio, Orchestrator, robots, and their ecosystem. So let us start. So what is RPA? RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation. It is a software technology that makes it easy to build, deploy, and manage software robots that mimic human actions interacting with digital systems and software. So RPA is mainly used for automating the business processes. And before automating any business process, we have to find out whether it is feasible to automate that business process or not. To decide that, we have to consider certain criteria. So we have to find out whether that business process is repetitive, it is having high volume tasks, it is rule based or manual. To understand this, let us consider an example. So let us consider a business process where we are going to receive a mail on daily basis. It is having an Excel attachment, and let us consider that Excel attachment contains around 200 customer records. Now the data entry operator copies all these customer records into the CRM, and let us consider time taken to copy each record into the CRM. It takes around 2 minutes. So the data entry operator has to work for 400 minutes to copy all the customer records into the CRM. If we consider this business process for automation, then we will find out that it is a repetitive process as we are receiving the mail on daily basis. Also, it is having high volume tasks as it is having an Excel attachment which contains around 200 customer records, and it is also time consuming as we have to as a data entry operator has to work for 400 minutes continuously. Okay. And currently it is being done by manual. So we can say that this business process is the best candidate for the automation. Now let us consider we perform this automation, and after automation, let us consider the robot takes around 60 minutes to execute this particular operation. So we can say that here we are saving almost 5 hours and 40 minutes of FTE. FTE is nothing but the full-time equivalent. So here we are saving 5 hours and 40 minutes of employee time. So this way we can find out whether we should go for the business process automation or not. Now, is RPA same as artificial intelligence? So RPA and artificial intelligence, these are totally different, but we can implement the artificial intelligence within RPA. So integration is possible. Now let us consider the UiPath core components. So there are three core components of the UiPath RPA. First one is the studio, second one is the robot, and third one is the orchestrator. So studio, it is like the integrated development environment, which is being used for design, develop, and debug of the automation projects. These automation projects, when published into the orchestrator, they are called as the processes. These processes are published locally or to the orchestrator. When an automation process is published locally, it is published in the form of the nugget package. And when it is published to the orchestrator, it is in the form of package. There are two types of Studio, Studio X and Studio. Studio X is generally used by the business users, whereas Studio is used by the professional developers for automating the business process end to end. The next component is the robot. The robot executes the processes that are built in Studio and are published to the orchestrator or locally. There are three types of robots: attended, unattended, and test robots. Attended robot, it is installed on the user system on which the user is sitting, and generally it is triggered by the human actions. Whereas unattended robot, it is installed on a virtual machine, and generally it is triggered through the orchestrator, either through orchestrator schedules or orchestrator triggers. And then we are having the test robots. Test robots are used for test automations. Then the third component is the orchestrator. So we can say that orchestrator is a web application that acts as the interface between Studio, robot, and it manages, controls, and monitors automation tasks. There are many other tasks which the orchestrator performs. Now let us consider the next slide, that is RPA core components ecosystem with respect to attended automation. Now in this slide, there are three components. So we can say that the first component is the UiPath Studio. The second component is the UiPath Orchestrator, and third component is the attended robot. So if we consider the first part, that is UiPath Studio, so it is the integrated development environment where we design, develop, and debug the automation code. Once that code is ready, we publish that code to the UiPath Orchestrator in the form of package. These packages are published into the folder. The combination of package and folder, it is called as a process. Okay. Now, in case of the attended robot, the attended robot are installed on the user machine, and UiPath Assistant is part of the attended automation. So within this UiPath Assistant, we can it displays the processes which are published onto the orchestrator. So using UiPath Assistant, the user can trigger an attended automation. Okay, and this attended automation is then executed on the user machine itself. So this is the ecosystem for the attended automation. Now let us consider the ecosystem for the unattended automation. So within this ecosystem for the unattended automation, the first two components are same. Only the third component, that is the unattended robot, this is different. So unattended robot, they are generally installed onto the virtual machines, and these are not triggered by the humans, but it is triggered by the orchestrator. So for the unattended robot execution, it follows a heartbeat mechanism. So what is the heartbeat mechanism? So within this heartbeat mechanism, the unattended automation, the unattended robot, it sends heartbeat after each 30 seconds. So after each 30 seconds, it will send a heartbeat to the orchestrator. Now, orchestrator will search for a particular process which is scheduled to be executed, or it will wait for a particular trigger. So if there is a trigger or there is a process which is scheduled to be executed, so at that time only it will respond to this heartbeat in the form of the job which is to be performed. So if there is a schedule where we have to execute a particular process, or if there is a particular trigger due to which we have to execute the process, so at that time this orchestrator will respond to the heartbeat in the form of this job information. And once this job information is received from the orchestrator to the unattended robot, this unattended robot will start execution of that particular process. So in this way, the ecosystem for the unattended robot works. So if we summarize all these points, then we have covered what is RPA, that is the robotic process automation. Then we have covered what are the business processes that are best suited for automation. So we have studied that a process which is repetitive, manual, having high volume of tasks, and is stable. So that is the good candidate for the automation. Then we have studied different components of RPA, UiPath RPA. So there are three components: Studio, Robot, Orchestrator. Within Studio, there are two types of Studio we have studied. That is the Studio X and Studio. Studio X is used by the business users, whereas Studio is used by the professional developers. Robot, in the robot, we have studied attended robot, unattended robot, and test robot. Then we have studied the orchestrator, which is nothing but a web application, and it acts as an interface between the Studio and robot. Then we have studied the RPA ecosystem. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.